All right, I think we're good to go. So hello YouTube. My name is Kellen and this is the first episode or pilot episode of Killing for Company. So I guess since this is the first episode, we'll just do a brief introduction, but to start, I don't know about the sound levels here, but here is what we're listening to. This is Pharaoh, an American power metal band. This was released off of Cruz del Sur Records in 2008. The title of the album is Be Gone. If you dig American power metal, here's a newer band, something for you to check out. But yeah, so just a little bit about me, I guess. I'm originally from Eugene, Oregon. I briefly was living in Western Kansas before moving out here to Lexington, Kentucky. So as you can probably tell by the sparse walls in the back, we've recently moved here to Lexington, and when I was in Western Kansas, I started a radio show called The Final Hour, and it played primarily metal music. So during the pandemic and sort of coronavirus shutdown, I got into watching a lot of the YouTubers in the metal community, and thought I would give this a shot and see how this goes. So here's the pilot episode, and to start off, I think I'm just going to start talking about the records that I've been listening to over the past year, and once we kind of get that going for a while, I'll switch things up. But for this first episode, and probably for the next few episodes, I'll just talk about the stuff that I've been listening to back in 2020. So we'll start off with Resent. This is an album called Crosshairs. They play sludge metal that's definitely in the vein of grief and dystopia. Incredibly abrasive sludge. I think they share members with Human Agony, which is another band from Vancouver, BC, that play kind of like a Black Death war metal style. So very aggressive music. This is so dissonant, it almost reminds me, just some gruesome album artwork there in the back. It almost reminds me of like a power electronics record at some point. It's just that dissonant. One of the more challenging listens that I came across this year. And if you dig bands like Meth Drinker, I think that one it's off of Dry Cough Records, and that in the promo they listed sort of their sound was based a lot on what Meth Drinker had done. So if you like your sludge that's really abrasive and just very bleak, challenging stuff. I mean, look at this. I mean, it almost looks like, if you look at this, you would think they're almost like a gore grind band. It's a bunch of sort of mutilated body parts, and but the lyrical content here is very much in a sludge vein. Just very bleak themes of depression and despair. So if that's your kind of music, check that out. Once again, Resent, Crosshairs. And then from there, because I'll show the vinyl. It's on black. I don't know. This is my first episode, but I'm sure nobody cares to check that out. So whatever. Moving on. Stygian Crown. This is Through Divine Right. They play a style of epic heavy metal. A little bit more on, I would say, probably closer to epic doom. This is their debut LP, and here in 2020, once again, also a Cruz del Sur release. They kind of go by this moniker Candle Thrower, a combination of Candlemass and Ball Thrower. So the vocal style is completely within Epic Doom, just big, powerful vocals. Here we get the band there. So the rhythm section is absolutely, I think, pretty well established within California in the death metal scene, and you definitely hear that in their sound. The riffs are not as smooth or melodic as sometimes you get from an Epic Doom band. There's a bit more of an aggression to it. I loved last year's Capilla Ardiente release, The Siege, and if we just take those band members, they're also in Procession. Procession to me feels much more like heroic and offers a little bit of a wider range in terms of the sound emotionally, but Capilla Ardiente is darker, heavier, more aggressive, and I was looking for a release like that. Stygian Crown definitely early in this I'd say back in 2020 for the first half of the year. This was hands down my favorite Epic Doom release in that vein. So if you like Epic Doom but you want something a bit more aggressive, I would definitely recommend this for you. It feels like this is just their start. Like this is them playing with kind of the early elements within their sound. It's nowhere as, I think, matured as a lot of the bands that they're inspired by. So if you're really into Solitude Aeternus, this may feel a little bit underwhelming, but it's, once again, their debut. So what this band does over the next, if they continue to play together 5-10 years, I think is really exciting. One of the bands that I'm looking forward to what they put out over the next decade. So Stygian Crown, once again, black vinyl. We'll skip that. I've got just a couple of CDs here and one more vinyl release to show you. So this is Invictus. Got this on CD on FDA Records. It had a release in Japan as well, off of Obliteration Records. Anyone familiar with Butcher ABC, that's their label and distribution. Invictus is from Nagano, Japan, and they play this. This was released back in January of 2020. And I remember Defiled, if you're familiar with that band, they came out with the full length as well. And I remember looking at the track listing, and they're very similar in the sense that there's like 11 tracks here, but you're looking at 30 minutes of material. So if you put that together, it's 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, a little bit more. For each track, and this is a death metal band. So very simple, straightforward kind of death metal, but incredibly enjoyable. It reminded me, probably for a lot of people, of the Caustic Wound release from earlier this year. In that sense, it was just very, very sort of straightforward death metal, but it does not a grind release like that. So Caustic Wound's death posture was a little bit of death and grind. This shares similarities with that in the sense of how brief, short, and non-technical a lot of the work is. However, it is closer. If you look in the back here, I don't know if you can see that one of the members is wearing a Demolition Hammer and a t-shirt, and the other guy's got on a Malevolent Creation t-shirt. I think it's far more in that vein, sort of an intersection between those two bands. It's not quite as pure death thrash as Demolition Hammer, but definitely a little bit to the point by comparison to something like Malevolent Creation. So I think that's probably a better example of what they've got going on. Album artwork here also pretty cool. From I always want to get this name right here, Juanjo Castellano Rosado. He also did the Cemetery Filth album artwork. So if you're looking at that and it looks a little bit familiar, that's probably where you got it from. Invictus, check that out if you're a fan of that Demolition Hammer and Malevolent Creation sound, for sure. Next up, let's go. Actually, I've got one more here. So we'll go one more CD. I think Jamie from Future Ruins talked about this. This is Hällas, Swedish 70s inspired prog rock or space rock, somewhere between Genesis, Hawkwind, and Uriah Heep. One of the albums, when I would wake up early in the morning, this is one of the first sort of albums I would gravitate towards, just because it's a little bit softer. So waking up early in the morning, when I'm getting ready for the day, I would put on the third track Strider, and it was perfect. I think another one of my favorite tracks was later on, Blinded by Emerald Mist. Just big, spacious. You know, there's an organ in there, so there's that Uriah Heep element as well. Prog rock in terms of broader concepts, like the narrative arc. I think this completes a trilogy that the band had put out in the previous years. So a knight that was on this quest before a war. So if you dig a little bit something softer by comparison to a lot of the extreme metal that you may be listening to, definitely check out Hollis. And last but not least, this is Afterbirth, Fourth Dimensional Flesh, Unique Leader Records. So I don't spend a whole lot of time listening to Unique Leader. A lot of the bands that they've signed on that label kind of gravitate towards like deathcore or technical death metal that doesn't really speak. Super cool. Check out that vinyl. It's like mint, jade, emerald, if you will. Very cool record. But wow. Okay, so I'd seen this and kind of, you know, circulating on Instagram and earlier in 2020, and was curious. But when I saw a title like, or a subgenre definition like progressive brutal death metal, I was kind of concerned because given on Unique Leader, I thought that would not be my style at all. But wow, probably this may be, all right, I'll say it. I was more surprised by this record than anything else I heard in 2020. So the vocal performance by Will Smith, who's a newer vocalist, their lead original vocalist that passed away a few years ago, is so strong, and the production values are so well rooted in that late 90s brutal death metal that there's no mistaking that this album is 100% a brutal death metal record. This band understands that lineage. Their early demos go back to that time period within American brutal death metal history. So all the credentials are there, but because it sort of plants itself, given those production values and the vocal performance within brutal death metal, it gives the band, I feel, so much more room to sort of explore. They're taking like this Girl in Landscape is the third track here, and it's an instrumental track. And if you look at the liner notes, they cite a poem. I'll read this off here. Ants don't even have to catch their prey. In the spring, they swarm over newly hatched featherless birds in the nest and eat them, tiny bite by bite. What? Anyway, it's in the sense that this also, just like the Hällas record, is tied to a concept narrative from the previous record, and I just saw that they're kind of getting back to work after being separated for a long time due to the pandemic to create the next chapter here. But an exceptional record. There's not a lot of the traditional sort of blasting sort of intensity with brutal death metal, where extremity and sound is sort of your like price of entry. They seem so much more confident and mature taking chances with this, while still sort of understanding how to pay homage to the heritage that they inherited. It's so well done. One of my favorite records here in 2020. I cannot recommend this album enough. A lot of fun to listen to, and that'll be the first episode here for Killing for Company. Before just closing this episode, I will probably do this several times, but I just want to thank Ben over at Brain Smasher, Marty Worm, Jason Hook, Eric Bauer. I have not had an opportunity to really talk to Ground Zero Salem, but Matt over at The Dark Path. There's a bunch of YouTubers out there who have not had a chance to sort of talk to, and or I look forward to have the opportunity to sort of thank them for all their contributions and their content. But back here in 2020, the live streams and everything that you guys put together made the year a whole lot more enjoyable for me, and it was easier to tolerate. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for all the kind words and the support and all the hard work. So that's all. Until next time, this is the first episode of Killing for Company, and thank you very much. Bye.